Hello and welcome back to Talking Europe. A controversial chemical will be allowed in the EU for another 10 years. After member states failed to reach an agreement among themselves, the European Commission decided that glyphosate, an agrochemical used in farming, will be reauthorized for a decade. Glyphosate kills weeds, and it is the most widely used herbicide in the world. An agency of the World Health Organization concluded that glyphosate is probably carcinogenic to humans, but EU and US agencies have not established a link to cancer. There are, of course, also big environmental and wildlife dimensions to this debate, which continues in the member states and here in the European Parliament. I'm joined by Cristian Silviu Bușoi, a Romanian MEP from the Conservative European People's Party. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
And also Andreas Schieder, an Austrian MEP from the Socialists and Democrats. Welcome to you as well.
Hello, thank you.
So obviously, gentlemen, you're not representing national governments here, but party groups. I'm interested, though, in why your countries voted the way they did on extending glyphosate. So Romania actually voted to continue to extend the use of glyphosate. Just explain to us why that was.
I believe that Romania, and this is also my personal position, I'm also a substitute in ENVI, but I'm the chairman of Industry, Research and Energy Committee, really trusted the assessment made by European Commission. You know well that the decision proposed by European Commission to extend 10 years, in December the current authorization will expire, is based on a solid scientific work of EFSA, European Food Safety Agency, with participation also of European Chemical Agency. So in my opinion, I believe that we need to look to the science, to be less emotional, and to support European farmers.
We'll come back to the science because that's also a slightly controversial point as well. But Andreas Schieder, what did you make of the vote and why Austria was one of only 3 countries to vote to phase out glyphosate, to end the use of glyphosate?
I was quite happy to learn that my Austrian government also voted in order to abolish glyphosate usage. Because in the past, also the position of especially the Conservative Party was driven by the farmers' lobbyists. And I think it is time for the consumers to protect them from herbicide, pesticide, and all this which is at the end in our food chain. And secondly, also to support those farmers which try to drive a different way, drive the way of biological food production, sustainable food production. And there is a huge and more farmers. And if you want to have level playing field, you must also support them, and to abolish glyphosate usage is one way also to help those farmers which go a more biological way.
So what about this whole argument about farming, that it's good for farmers if they can keep using glyphosate, or it's bad for them if they keep using glyphosate? Where do you come down on that question?
Clearly, all of us are committed to the Green Deal. It was a large majority for the main objectives of the Green Deal, to decarbonize, to protect the environment. Of course, how to get there, what are the methods, we are quite divided. And not so long time ago in Strasbourg, this was seen when we discuss about plants. Also on packaging and other issues, clearly we are divided, but not on the goals. I would also like to see more environmentally friendly farming. Clearly, my party, European People's Party, is also a party supporting very much the farmers in many European large countries, encourage European Commission to give the right incentives, financial incentives, to go to a different approach. But in the same time, we need to look to the realities and also to understand that we are in a global competition. We need also to look to the sustainability of European way of farming, also to the prices of food. And as long as important European agencies did conclude that at this moment there is not proven risk continue to use glyphosate, I don't see why is this opposition.
Well, on those agencies, the European Food Safety Authority, the European Chemicals Agency, we've heard, Andreas Schieder, from groups such as the Pesticide Action Network Europe saying that these scientific opinions were too much based on industry-led research, so they were essentially biased. That's what these pressure groups are saying. What would you say to that?
I'm not a chemistrist, so I cannot, let's say, make the analysis. But what I heard from groups like this, or serious researchers which were looking into these studies, that they said there are quite some major loopholes in the way how this assessment is done. And generally, we have to say, we know from deep research that minimum every fifth case of cancer where people get ill, leukemia and other ones, is somehow related with pesticide, herbicides, and the way how our food is produced.
This is according to who? Sorry, just to remind us.
This is according to numbers which are since 10 years, since we have this glyphosate debate, is also around, not only on glyphosate, just to say it's on the way. And the final question we simply have to ask, and therefore I don't understand the argument for those who are supporting this way. Do we really want to eat these things? No, I want to get it out of our food chain.
I mean, we've got one of our pictures here which says, banning glyphosate prevents cancer and saves lives. A lot of people would look at that and say, that's common sense. I don't want to eat something which may have been sprayed with this herbicide.
I'm not a chemist either, but I studied medicine. I was the president of the National Health Insurance House in my country, in Romania, the rapporteur for You for Health. And I also established, and I'm chairing a intergroup in European Parliament to fight against cancer. So clearly, we should avoid those elements that are using risk substances. On the other hand, just to ban abruptly like this, I think will create a lot of issues to the farmers and to the prices. And once again, I know the WHO assessment. Of course, they also look to these substances having potential, not necessarily being sure that inducts cancer or have a carcinogenic effect.
The American Environmental Protection Agency is actually redoing its assessment because it now wonders whether glyphosate might be linked to certain malformations. And let's not forget, in France, there was this landmark case of a young man called Theo, which has been, malformations in his body have been officially linked to glyphosate. That's actually been recognized by the fund that reimburses victims, that indemnifies victims. So there is at least emerging evidence, isn't there?
I know well European Food Safety Agency and European Chemical Agency work, and I know how strict they are. And the European Union really has a strict legislation on chemicals, on pesticides, maybe one of the most strict in the world. This assessment was not only made inside this agency, involved also member states. During, I believe, 32 months, 2,400 dossiers studied, a lot of national experts from national governments. Some of them, of course, are looking a little bit reluctantly. But what I fear now is a very emotional discussion, not really a science-based. Clearly, all of us would like to eat bio products. Let's incentivize, let's mobilize more funds for those farmers which are not using. But banning in all European Union the use of glyphosate really could jeopardize the work of so many farmers and enterprises.
Well, we are where we are now. I mean, the fact is that it has been reauthorized for 10 years. So, Andreas Schieder, how do you think we should approach giving people, I don't know, transparency when they buy products so that they know what they're eating? Are there things we could do better on that?
I would say generally, yeah, more transparency, especially in in food, what you're buying, what you're getting for the money, and what you're putting into your body is a major issue. Not only with glyphosate, also we have this discussion now on genetic modified products, where is also a huge part of our society which don't want to have genetic modified product. So therefore, I think the minimum is to allow also that it is, let's say, identified on the packaging, what is inside and how it is produced. But I have to say, we are banning glyphosate. It's not about, let's say, forcing everybody to buy biological food. It is simply to get poison, to get something which is very dangerous out of our way of producing. But at the end, I'm also in favor to have rules for the agriculture that it allows that everybody can go to the supermarket and can be sure that the food you're buying, if you have much money or if you're poor, but the food which you can afford is healthy and not dangerous.
Yes, so back to the level playing field idea in a sense. We'll have to end it there. The time does go by very quickly on these debates. So I'd like to thank both of you so much, Cristian Silviu Bușoi and Andreas Schieder. And that's all for this edition of Talking Europe. Glad you could join us.